Hi, my name is Jacob Lewis, and I'll be doing my speech on February 1986. I was actually born February 12th, 1986. Fun fact about the date of my birth, not the same year, obviously, but I actually share the same birthday as Abraham Lincoln. So I always thought it was a pretty cool fact, sharing the birthday of a president, especially one who, in my opinion, has been one of the most influential presidents we've had. So I've always had a connection with Abraham Lincoln because of that. I've always thought it was cool, done a bunch of reports on him. And I've always had that connection because of that, which I've always thought was pretty cool. Obviously not the same year, but still I think a pretty cool fact. Back to the main portion of the speech, February 1986. As far as everyone knows, February is not usually a hotbed for activity. Usually everyone's home bundled inside due to the cold weather and whatnot, but there's still some significant things that happen this month that are pretty impactful, and I think it's impacting people's lives. The number one movie in February was a movie called Down and Out in Beverly Hills, which had Nick Nolte and Bette Midler in it. Now, I've actually never personally seen the movie, so I can't say if it's good or not, or if it's in my taste, but I believe it was number one for 5 weeks, so it must have been pretty decent. I know it did well in the box office for the Wikipedia page, so it might be one of those movies that I throw on my Netflix one day just to see how good it is or not. There wasn't a whole lot of movies that were released that month. The only real significant movie that came out was Pretty in Pink, which I think anyone in my generation has seen that movie. I've seen it a couple times. It's not one of the greatest movies, but it's not horrible either. So, that's my opinion about that movie. There's actually two number one singles for the month of February. The first one is by Donna and Friends. The song is called "That's What Friends Are For." And then for the later half of that month, the number one song was by Whitney Houston. That's How I Know. I personally never heard either one of those songs. I don't know if they're good or not. But at least knowing Whitney Houston, by the song she's came out, I'm sure it's a pretty decent single. The price of gas in 1986 was actually 93 cents, which I think we all would love to go back to 93 cents a gallon. A lot better than the 3.55 it is now. But that's what it was in 1986, 93 cents, under a dollar. I personally never seen under a dollar in my driving life, so I would love to go back to that time frame. As far as TV shows goes, 1986 seemed to be a hotbed. There were a lot of good shows that were running at that time in February. The number one show was the Cosby Show, which I think I love the Cosby Show. I think everyone should at least see that, at least one episode at one point. Great show. It's good, clean humor, which I really appreciate. But besides that, it's all the good shows, The Family Ties, Cheers, and then Murder She Wrote. So that was only a small sample of all the shows that were out in 1986. So it was pretty hot then. TV show was on. As far as political stuff, wasn't a whole lot going on. Really, one of the major things I thought was the Soviet Union launched the space station Mir into space, which that in itself is pretty crazy. And then the U.S. Senate approved a treaty outlawing genocide, which personally I find it crazy that it's 1986 and you're just now coming up with a treaty to outlaw it. I guess at least you did it. As far as some other sports related stuff that I personally found interesting, which actually one of the things I think is one of the I never knew about, which I'm glad I found this actually is pretty significant. Debbie Thomas became the first African American woman to win the women's singles of the U.S. National Figure Skating Championship, which obviously it's not a gold medal in the Olympics, but it's still something that it doesn't have to be African American, just women in general. If you won an award, it's just a stepping stone that led to all the women athletes nowadays. So just take that first person to cross that barrier to do that accomplishment, and then just steamrolls from there. So pretty cool thing. Another interesting fact that a 5'7" Spud Webb of the Atlanta Hawks won the NBA dunk contest that year. which is anyone who follows basketball knows that a 5'7" person dunking is pretty unusual. Then again, winning a slam dunk contest against the likes of Michael Jordan and all the other athletes around 1986 is pretty amazing in itself. The cool fun fact about Detroit sports, Detroit Pistons versus the Philadelphia 76ers drew the largest crowd at that time in Detroit, which I think is pretty cool for Detroit, drawing in 44,000 fans for an NBA game, which was in the playoffs in February, which is a regular season game. I think it's pretty significant. Obviously, that record's been broken since then, but still pretty cool for its time. Now, of course, I wouldn't be me without mentioning some sort of Star Wars reference. Pixar Animation Studios opened its doors on February 3rd and developed a short film Bucko, which everyone knows later became their logo. What I didn't know that Pixar used to be owned by George Lucas and Lucasfilms, so I thought that was pretty cool. So I had to throw a Star Wars thing in there. But another pretty significant thing that happened in February was, of course, my birth. So I personally feel that's probably one of the most important things that happened in that month and that year. So thank you, February.